Welcome to the Love and Sex Today show with Dr. Doug Weiss. Doug has been healing hearts and relationships for decades. He's helped thousands of people release the shame and the guilt, restoring hope, helping people get free from addictions to enjoy a better sex and love life. Here he is, your host, Dr. Doug Weiss.
Welcome to Love and Sex Today. I'm Dr. Doug Weiss, and I will be your host for now our 11th conversation. And this one's going to be exciting. This is breaking free from the strongholds of addiction. In our last podcast, we talked about, am I addicted? And if you listen to that one and you found out that, yes, that's me, or some friends send that to you, you go, yes, that's me, then this show is definitely going to be for you. Now, also, if you're just a person who happens to attract people who tell you their stories, ask for help, that kind of stuff, whether you're a bartender, a hairdresser, massage therapist, or just a good friend who people say, hey, can I tell you something? You're going to want to listen to this show as well because you're the person who they're going to go to for help. So you might as well listen, spend a few minutes with us today and see what you can do to help others. And if it's you, see what you can do to help yourself. See what you can do to get yourself into living instead of surviving with an addiction. And again, it doesn't matter what addiction we're talking about today. It could be pornography. It could be alcohol, it could be drugs, it could be gambling, it could be spending, it could be debting, it could be overeating, it could be undereating. It doesn't matter what the addictive process is. It could be intimacy anorexia, withholding love from your spouse. It can be any of these addictive processes, or several that we haven't mentioned. Okay, you can be free. I have been free from addictions for over 30 years. Okay, in some cases, 35 years. I've been a recovering alcoholic, drug addict, sex addict, caffeine, sugar. I mean, I know what recovery looks like. I know what it is to break it. I know how it is to stay free. And you can be free your entire life from an addiction. You just have to get started and get some really good basic information and get moving. You won't get different results if you keep the same behavior. Now, what I'm going to talk about comes from two books today. Recovery for Everyone. So if you have addiction, this would be a good primer for you, or if you're a helper, it'd be a good primer. And also a book called Get a Grip, which if you're kind of struggling with the behavior, lots of principles in there to be able to, get control of your life, get control of what's controlling you. So breaking free from the strongholds of addictions. We're going to get into that topic. But before we do, I want you to go to loveandsextoday.com and subscribe there and write a review on as many of these podcasts as you want. Okay, that helps us to get the word out there to help other people. It's your part of being the team. And we appreciate your teamfulness and your familyness and getting this message out. We really need your help on that. Also on Love and Sex Today, there's a free chapter of one of my books. Always an encouragement for you to get that. And we really do appreciate you. And I know that we get emails and responses from you and how this podcast is touching your life and touching your friend's life and changing your life. Well, thank you very much for those and keep sending them. We'd love to hear from you. And we love to know that, your love and sex is improving. We'd love to know that your life is improving. This show is about big issues, but with practical tools. And every show, we want you to walk away with something you can not only help yourself with, but you can help others with. And today's show is no different. When we're talking about breaking free from the strongholds of addiction, this is serious stuff. And I want to give you some basic principles. Now, the first part of any freedom from addiction is getting out of denial. I mean, and only the addict themselves can get out of denial. If you have something you've tried to break and you can't get free, you know you need help. It's time to just acknowledge that. That's not weakness, that's strength. It's strength to know when you need support to get to the next place in your life. And the older you get, the more mature you get, you do that more and more about more and more things because actually humanity is about an interdependentness. It's not about independentness. In Western society, we overvalue the second stage of development, which is independence, as opposed to interdependence. Interdependence is I can trust other people, and together we get to where we're going. And I've always been about building teams. I have so many great teams, administrative teams. If you call us at Heart to Heart Counseling Center at 719-278-3708, you meet my administrative team. They're wonderful. I have a great clinical team. I have great support teams in various projects and businesses. I love that. So addiction is one of those where you're definitely going to have to get out of denial and you're going to first have to reach out. But let me give you some basic principles here. The first one starts with the 5 C's, okay? And this is out of the book Recovery for Everyone. It's also in the Final Freedom. and several other workbooks. The 5 C's are pretty simple. The first one is you pray. Now, I don't really have a concern about your God concept. That's not the purpose of our podcast. I remember one guy's like, Dr. Weiss, I don't believe in God. I said, I didn't ask you to believe in God. I asked you to pray. So just pray. And I'll never forget his response. About 3 weeks later, he's like, you know what? I don't know about this God thing, but this prayer thing really worked. And he went through how many different prayers he was praying and how they were answered. So again, this is not a theology thing. This is just a pragmatic thing because addictions rob you of spiritual development. So where you're robbed, you need to take some action. So what you want to do is, God, just help me to stay clean today. Whether it's clean from a person, and clean from a thing, and clean from an object, clean from some kind of substance. God, I just need your help. Whatever's out there, please help me. Okay? And I've never heard a sincere, honest prayer not responded to at some point. So you pray. Number 2, you want to read literature. Okay? You want to get your hands on books that can help you. Now, Recovery for Everyone is a primer for any addiction. That's a good primer. But you want to also get maybe some books on specifically your type of addiction. There's thousands of books on various types of addictions. And, get a few of those that look like they're good. Read some of the reviews and start chewing on stories and principles that have to do with your particular addiction. If you have a sex addiction, The Final Freedom is a good primer. There's lots of good books on addictions. Okay, Intimacy and Anorexia has its own book. Many of the addictions we're talking about have their own books, and there's many good authors doing good work on all those subjects. Okay, so you want to pray, you want to read literature. Number 3 might be the hardest, and that is go to a group. There are recovery groups for all kinds of addiction. I could spend 5 hours just going through the list of the groups. But you know what type of addiction you have. Just put that addiction in Google and put support group or put 12-step group in that addiction. And I'm sure you'll find something that can help you. There's all kinds of blogs and there's online groups, there's phone groups, there's all kinds of support for you, but you will not do this by yourself. That idea has to die for you to be successful. And once you create a team, teams win. The first word in 12 steps is we. We admitted that we're powerless. If you don't get into we and you still do me and a stronger me and a smarter me and a more informed me, you will fail. But a we, you could be less informed, less intelligent, less successful in life, and still be more successful in addiction recovery than someone who's brilliant and successful in different areas of their life. Because we's work. I'll never forget I was in an alcohol and drug treatment center for years, and this was back in the early 80s when people would stay for like 6 months at a time. And I'll never forget, this group of people. I was their tech, so I would drive them to AA meetings and NA meetings, and that's what I did. And so I'll never forget, there was this group of people, they were there for about 90 days together. And there was this group of really kind of, college educated, white collar people. And then there was this guy who had big scars all over him. He was probably in his mid 60s, broken teeth all over, a motorcycle rider, really, probably like an 8th grade education. Nothing wrong with any of that, just who he was. And so we went to meetings and they were told what to do, read your book, go to meetings, do stuff. Well, when they all got discharged, the group of people that were so smart and clever and intelligent and successful had a party and they all got drunk and wasted. But the motorcycle guy didn't. He just did what he was told to do. Read his big book every day, go to meeting every day, and do the rest of what we're talking about here. And he's been sober. He got sober and he was able to, he got sober while the other people didn't because he did the we. And the we works. And the we is you get your body in a room with somebody else who can help you, who has the same issue, and you will find success. So pray, read, go to meetings. Number 4, make phone calls. This is important every day for the first 90 days. When you go to group, go ahead and get some phone numbers from people. Now, in some group cultures, this isn't as cool as others, but you get some phone numbers and say, listen, I just need to call someone every day, check in. And the people who do this, this has been one of the particular things we use in our formula of success for addiction, and it works so tremendously. You build your own community. And if you make a phone call every day, when you are struggling, you will find yourself being able to reflexively make a phone call and not go back to your addiction or your relationship or whatever it is that you're trying to get free from. You will find yourself building a team and using your team so that when your brain's not working, you're actually utilizing the brain of someone who is actually sober and sane at the moment. And there's an old saying in AA, we're not all insane at the same time. And so if you're feeling insane with your addictive process, the other person is most likely not. So pray, read, meetings, phone calls. And number 5, pray again. Thank God every day. Thank your higher power. Thank whatever you want to for, hey, thank you for keeping me clean today. Again, this is just you opening up your spiritual development and just being open to that. It'll go where it needs to go. Don't worry. This isn't about, being manipulated. It's just opening up your heart to something that's bigger than you are. Okay. And that's usually a really important part of recovery. Now, another thing you could do, and this comes out of our book, Get a Grip, is you can establish consequences or rewards for yourself. Like, hey, if I relapse with this, then I'm gonna have a consequence. I'm gonna have to go pick up trash, or I'll eat a raw onion, or I will do some kind of community service for 2 hours, pick up trash maybe, and you can stop. I'll never forget. I had this guy who was so out of control, and he was going 12-step support groups, and he wasn't getting better. And what we did is we established a consequence. He'd pick up trash for 2 hours if he acted out. Well, he did, and he picked out trash. And after that first time of picking out trash, he was so, he didn't like that because of his own ego. He stayed clean for 8 months in a row, solidly clean, had a short relapse and got back into recovery. And so setting up a consequence can be very helpful. Now, some people are motivated by reward. Okay, then set yourself up a reward. If I get, 30, 60, 90 days, then I will reward myself in some positive way. That's fine. But that consequences and rewards, those be good things. Now, before we go today, I have a really important thing to talk about. If you're going to get help, get professional help, make sure they know what they're doing. Make sure they're certified. Like in our field in sexual addiction, if you Google that in your city, you'll find that 90% of them are not certified. I'm the president of the American Association for Sex Addiction Therapy. I certify counselors all over the world. But people advertise things that they're not necessarily qualified to treat. So make sure that you, if you're needing a drug and alcohol counselor, that they're a certified drug and alcohol counselor. If it's sexual addiction, make sure they're sexual recovery therapists or something comparable. If you have an addiction, whether it's codependency relationship, love addiction, spending, shopping, gambling, doesn't matter. Just find out that they know what they're doing as far as addiction, because you don't want to go to a generalist when you're dealing with addiction. Addictions are aggressive and they're hostile, and it really helps to have someone who kind of has great insight and helpful tools for you to get well. And as always, I want you to go to loveandsextoday.com, subscribe there, review us on iTunes. I really want you to live an addiction-free life. I have for many, many years now, decades, and you really deserve that, okay? So if you write a review, you could be picked for a conversation with myself, Dr. Doug Weiss, and it'll be a conversation to help you accelerate something. It'll be priceless. It'll be fun. It'll be great to get to know you in that way. Also on the webpage, Love and Sex Today, there is a free chapter of one of my books. We want you to enjoy that. And remember, always have great love and great sex today.
That's it for our episode of Love and Sex Today with Dr. Doug Weiss. Head on over to loveandsextoday.com and be sure to subscribe to the show on iTunes. When you do, and you post a review on iTunes, some lucky listener is going to win every single month a private confidential coaching call with Dr. Doug Weiss. Also, feel free to ask any question you like. You can push a button, speak your question, and Dr. Doug will answer your question in a future episode. So be sure to subscribe to the show. Doug's got some great gifts for you, and we will look forward to seeing you next time.